Seems like it's going well, right?
Yeah. Hi to all my Facebook friends. Glad to know that you're on board with me. So glad that you are locked in and locked on. Hey, once again, it's the Carita Dee TV Show, and you know who I am. I am Carita Dee. Hey, listen, we are just so excited tonight. I've got a great guest getting ready to come on board with me, and you're going to be seeing him in just a moment. We're talking about an issue tonight that lots of us have encountered here in our culture. Our culture is has been really plagued with a lot of abuse, a lot of violence, a lot of stalking, a lot of bad things that have been happening to women, especially in this region. And so because of that, and around the world as well, but especially in our region, one of the things that really concerns me here is the fact that so many women are not educated enough and not savvy enough on how to protect ourselves. And so what's happening is women are dying at alarming rates. And so we want to make sure that all of you are on board tonight. Bring your daughters, bring your sons, bring your husbands, bring your boyfriends, bring everyone you know so that we can talk about this thing, because it is imperative, absolutely imperative, that we talk to our folks and find out how we can protect ourselves in these areas. So I wanted to come on board and just say hi. I want to say a big shout out to Patrick Snare. He's already on board because we're going to be going live in just a moment. This is our pre-show on Facebook, simply because we want to make sure that my girls are on board, and I just absolutely love you for being on board, and I'm glad to see you. Hey, listen, you know the number here in Barbados, 246-467-1046. A lot of you have stories that you can tell. If you don't have a story about yourself, you know a story about someone else who was either stalked and killed, or they went through some kind of situation. And we want to make sure that we're sharing it so that other people can get on board. We've got an 800 toll-free number that anyone in the Caribbean can use. It's a free number you can use to call in as well, so that you make sure that you're here and you can protect yourself. You have no idea what people are all about. We have a region of cane fields and all kind of closed-in areas and things like that. And really and truly, nobody teaches us how to protect ourselves. So you're going to learn that tonight. Want to say a big shout out to Eunice White. Hi, Eunice. Glad to have you on board. Hey, who else is out there? Come on board with me right here on Facebook. Facebook Live. Just log on to facebook.com/carita.d.1. How about that? Facebook.com/carita.d.1. Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's a stalker alert tonight, women. It's time to find out how we can protect ourselves. Hey, also, Patricia Nicholas is on board. Hi, Patricia. Thanks for waving. I always want to make sure that I, shout you out too. Always on board with me. Hey, wherever you are, come on, lock on to us, because we are going to be really hitting this nail on the head tonight. We don't want you to back off of this, because we want to teach our children, our grandchildren, how to protect themselves. Come on, people. You know how to do it. Get on board right here with me on Facebook. We're going to deal with this issue because it is tough out there. And even though we're getting more and more sophisticated, we've got all these gadgets that we can put our hands on. Unfortunately, we're not using the information that's in the gadgets. And so we've got to now get on board with technology and get on board with some really interesting ideas on how to protect ourselves. Okay, one of the things that we need to figure out is how we can get more savvy as far as online stuff. So we're going to be talking about that tonight with our very special guest, who's going to protect us as far as, and teach us how to protect ourselves as far as how we can, really get savvy. So I'm looking to see all of you. I've got Eunice on, Patricia on, Patrick on. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick says, girlfriends travel in twos. Yeah, we do. We tend to travel in packs. If you go out to dinner, with two couples go out to dinner, the women automatically get up and go to the restroom together most of the time. So yeah, women travel in packs. But a lot of the times, we're not being really careful enough. And so we got to make sure that we are much more careful. Okay? So we're going to be coming up in just a few moments. Glad that you're here with me right here on Facebook Live. Hey, listen, stand by, Facebook people, because we're getting ready to go live. Call your friends. Make sure they're right here with us. Well, welcome to Girlfriend Get Alive. I'm Carita Dee, and of course, it is the Carita Dee TV Show. So glad to have you on board. It's another great day that God has made, and we are going to have some joy up in the house today. Hey, as usual, we're going to have a great night tonight. It's one of those nights where we get some information that's really going to take us to the next level. Want to say a big, big shout out to all my girls out there on Facebook, and the guys too. Never want to leave you out. And to make sure that all of you are listening and calling your friends to listen as well, so that we can get some information that will take us to the next level. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in the same place this year that I was last year. And in order for me to do that, I've got to get some new information to take us to the next level. Hey, just making sure that you're here with me, all of you on Facebook, Twitter, all of you out there, just come on board right now and make sure that you just got your cup of tea or whatever it is that you take to relax, so that we can get some information tonight. We've got a good friend, Pete Canavan. He's going to be on here with us, and he and I are just going to sit back and chat and really find out what it takes to be much more safe than we've been with our lives. The Caribbean especially has a tremendous statistics as far as domestic abuse, as far as domestic abuse that leads to murder, and also a lot of violent crimes, and especially where we have disproportionately large numbers of women. And so we want to be able to attack this and get to the bottom and use things that are within our circumference so that we can protect ourselves in these areas. Of course, the dynamics of the Caribbean, where we have lots of sugarcane fields and things like that, also add to this problem, and so we want to talk more about that tonight. I want to share my personal story, though, before we get started, as far as stalking, because that's one of the areas that we're going to be talking about tonight. Many years ago, when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was dating a guy. Actually, I had moved from Syracuse, New York, into Charlotte, North Carolina. He and I had been seeing each other for quite some time. And during that time, everything was fine. Everything was working out just copacetic, no problems whatsoever. And we had been dating for quite some time. I would imagine that we'd been dating for about 2 years or 2.5 years or so. And when we got into Charlotte, I noticed a shift in the way that he was acting. I think it came from the fact that Syracuse, the town that we lived in, was a little more rural, for lack of a better word. And when we got into Charlotte, which was the third largest banking center in the nation, it was so a little faster, a little more people, more progressive. And so I think his eyes opened a lot more, because he saw a lot more. Can I be candid? He saw a lot more beautiful women driving BMWs and Mercedes. And suddenly Carita didn't look cute anymore. But anyway, needless to say, whatever was going on, he obviously wanted to make a shift. And so when we got there, everything was, we were trying to get settled, and we were in jobs and, doing our thing. And I started to notice he was pulling away. And so because we were not married, I figured, well, he's pulling away, later for him, whatever, do your thing. So it was actually around my birthday that night, and he came over. And he said to me, well, our relationship has been bad 97% of the time. And I thought to myself, wow, a man is walking around with statistics. That's pretty cool. So I gave him the proverbial out. I said, let's just be friends. I didn't want to deal with it. I figured if your heart isn't in it, ain't no point in being with me. And so what he did was really interesting. He said, okay, and he said, I agree. Let's just be friends. And I said, okay, I'm down with that. Let's just be friends. And so we reiterated it. We're going to be friends. Well, just about 2 weeks later, I was out at the club, and I met this really nice football player, former professional football player. And as we were talking and just, as they say, we were kicking it. And so I started to see this guy. He had been obviously testing the waters, seeing someone else. And so what was really interesting, one day I ran into him, we just ran into each other. And he happened to realize that I was seeing somebody. And so we didn't talk about it or anything like that. It was just like, hi, how you doing? Everything's good. And we moved on to our separate ways. Well, a few months later, he had obviously decided that whomever he was pursuing wasn't as good as he thought they would be, and now he wanted to come back. And so he came back to me, he called me, and he said, well, you know what, we moved here. All of a sudden, the very things that irritated him were the things now that he was attracted to all over again. And so he called me and he said, well, I really want to see you. I've had some time to think. No, you had some time to play. And I've had some time to think, and I want to get back, you know, I want to really, you know, see if we can try this again. Well, by that time, I was just having the time of my life with the football player. I was going out to all the best parties. I was hanging out with all the who's who. I was really in a new world that I was very, very excited to be in. And I did not want to go back with him. And so I politely told him, you know, I don't think that's a good thing. I'm okay. I'm cool. Don't really want to check that scene anymore. You know, I'm good. Like we said, let's be friends. And somehow, during that time, he made a quick switch. He couldn't take rejection. I had obviously told him something he did not want to hear. So he found every reason to call me. He was just constantly calling me. Sometimes I wouldn't answer his calls. Sometimes I just, you know, I just forget about him. And then he would run into me or whatever. So what happened was I had to make up this elaborate lie. Eventually, he was calling me so often, I had to pretend like I was moving out of town. And unfortunately, I got busted. That's why you shouldn't lie, people. I got busted. He found out that I'd been lying to him, and he started stalking me. He was calling me nonstop. I mean, just... it was ridiculous. He was calling me on my job. Back then there were pagers, no cell phones. And he was calling me, he was blowing up my pager, and I couldn't get rid of this man. Till finally one day he said to me that he was coming to kill me. Well, I'm not afraid of stuff like that. I just never have been. So I politely decided to turn the trick on him. And I politely told him, if you're coming to kill me, you're going to have to come and kill me now. All right. And he just ranted and raved. Yes, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Well, I came back at him and I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going home with you in this madness, you know, because I'm on the phone. I said, if you're going to kill me, you're going to have to come and kill me this morning. Well, lo and behold, he never showed up. We're going to come back and tell you some more information about how to get yourself free from stalkers.
Sister, best friend, know why. The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
We are on Facebook. Join the growing CaribVision community today. Go to www.facebook.com/CaribVision. Be a part of our online family, whether you are located in Canada, the USA, or even farther away. CaribVision is about what it means to be from the Caribbean, our culture, our lifestyles, our voices. Log on or switch us on. CaribVision.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Keep a working flashlight and batteries available during the hurricane season.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. This is the Carita Dee TV Show. So glad to have you in the house with me. And we've been talking about stalkers, all kinds of situations of violent crimes, any kinds of crimes, really, that we can prevent, that we can get to the point where we get over. Hey, listen, I'm talking to you, all of you out there who are listening, all of you who are locked on Facebook, Facebook Live. Glad to have you on board. I just want to say a big, big shout out to all my girls who are locked on. Always glad to have you. And, of course, the guys, too. And I want to say a big, big shout out to Shelly Love. Hey, listen, I've got a great friend that's just joined us here. He's going to be a part of our group now. I'm going to initiate him into the group. Hey, he is Pete Canavan. He's coming to us from Pennsylvania. Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Carita. How are you tonight?
I am doing fantastic. Glad that you're here because you're going to help me talk to the girls, talk to the ladies tonight, and really talk about some of the things that can help us in these stalker situations. A lot of the girlfriends are going to be sharing. Hopefully, some of them will get the courage to share some of the stalker stories that they've had. But I want to first ask you, I know that you definitely go around the world talking about personal safety and student safety and things like that. Let's first start with protecting ourselves from people who are following us. Let's just say, because in the Caribbean, our region promotes a lot of dark places at night and, during the day as well, because we have sugarcane fields on either sides of the road and things like that. How does a woman protect herself from violent crime in those kind of situations?
Well, I think like with any sort of threat to your physical safety, it starts with your awareness. And that includes being aware of where you're at, the people around you, and also the objects that are nearby. And so if you are being distracted, for example, by technology, and we were talking before the show started about how that is such a distraction, you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. You could be checking your Facebook, you could be checking and doing texting people, listening to music maybe too loud. So now you can't hear something that you should. And I think really technology has become a very dangerous distraction, especially in certain situations. And you were just describing some of that earlier. Yeah. And it's very scary.
Yes, absolutely. What would you say, though, to a woman, and I find this especially around older women in aging populations throughout the region, where a woman is walking, she may not have her cell phone out, but somebody's, sometimes we sense that someone is around us. What do we do considering we're not prepared for it?
You would want to try to find a populated area, try to find some other people nearby. Remember your greatest weapon other than something physical that you would have is your voice. Be ready to shout out. Yes. Sometimes it's not even a good idea to yell help, believe it or not. I've heard because that. People don't like to get involved. And so sometimes it's better to shout something like fire. Oh, nice. Because that's good. People, that's good. I like they want to come see the pretty fire.
That's right.
Well,
and, we love
there's
to
no
run
fire,
to fire.
It's me.
Culturally, we run to fires. So you're right.
It's very true.
Yes.
And, it's not something that you would think, but it can be more effective because people don't like to get involved.
Yes, yes. So let's just say, okay, somebody's behind me. I'm going to a bus stop, and I think it's great. What are some of the tools, maybe in my purse or on my person, that I can use if the attacker has actually gotten close to me?
Actually, one of the speaking points I talk about quite often is the things in a woman's purse that can protect them.
Yes, we will.
And you don't think that there's something in there that can protect you, but there absolutely is. It could be your perfume. You may not have pepper spray, but you could spray perfume in somebody's eyes.
And it'll burn.
You could spray bug spray, and that stuff is going to burn. You've got nail files. You've got, maybe manicure scissors. These are things that could be an improvised weapon if you needed them to be. Depending on the size of the purse, that could be a weapon as well.
I am guilty of that.
And I've seen some purses, and definitely would not want to get hit by one.
Right. Let me ask you a question, though, and you just brought up something, because I was just mentally going into my purse, like I'm sure a lot of the women are right now, and thinking, okay, what do I have? What do I have? And out of all the stuff that you had there, you said, I didn't think I had any of those.
What about hand lotion? Hand sanitizer.
Yes. The only thing is that
squirt that right into someone.
Ah, there you go. There you go. I'm thinking to myself, though, that maybe I need to get a small can of that bug spray and keep in my bag.
Well, pepper spray is a fantastic deterrent. And
Yes.
what I tell people is get a very strong flashlight that has a strobe function. They're very small anymore. You can get these little flashlights
ones, yeah.
that are extremely, powerful, but they don't weigh much. So you really don't notice that you have it, but you should make it easily accessible, maybe in a zippered outside or inside pocket so you know right where it is.
Right.
And simply pulling that out, you can blind an attacker. Now you could pull out pepper spray or perfume or something else. They can't see, you spray it in their eyes, you turn, you run.
Wow, that's good. Because a lot of people, I know a lot of women, they get quite intimidated by the fact that somebody is attacking them. What happens? We just lost, I should say, not just I, but so many of us just lost a dear friend here in Barbados who was attacked by her husband on the job. And he had actually planned to kill her, which he ultimately did. And what he did was he went out and bought a knife, and he eventually killed himself. He also bought the poison to kill himself. But he went out and bought a knife and came back on the job, and then when he got a moment, he started stabbing her repeatedly. How can you protect yourself if someone is so intent on killing you? What can you do in that moment?
What I tell my students in my self-defense courses and workshops is I can teach you all the greatest techniques in the world and you could be really proficient with them. But if you cannot bring yourself to do that, if you don't have the mindset of a warrior, and you as a woman turn into an absolute tigress,
yes,
and understand that if you do not act and you do not act decisively, it's going to be not good for you.
Right.
And so if you want to get home to your family, to your children, to your husband, to your wife, whatever, you need to understand that you have to get into the mindset of someone who is willing to do anything. And there are no rules in a fight when you're fighting for your life. And if you're aware enough to realize that you're injured,
right,
you're aware enough to continue to fight.
Absolutely.
And that said, everybody should take self-defense.
No doubt about it. We're going to come back in just a moment because we're going to be talking to Pete Canavan. He's going to help us ladies as we go through this situation. Time and time again, so many of us are totally clueless, I mean absolutely clueless, on how we can protect ourselves as far as going forward where our defense is concerned. Our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit, and so we want to protect our bodies as much as we can. And so if somebody isn't coaching us and we haven't learned from our parents, then how do we know this information? So I want to come back in just a moment, definitely. If you have questions, please feel free to call me at any point, because I want to know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, what your concerns are. Maybe you are facing something right now and you have no idea how you're going to go about doing that. So we want to make sure that you are going in the right direction. Hey, I'm Carita Dee, coming right back.
Sister, best friend, oh, the message is still the same. A girlfriend, get alive. Oh, girlfriend, get alive.
This is Caribbean Newsline.
I'm Renee Sion.
I'm Ricardo Roberts.
I am Peter Richards.
Kenton Chance.
I'm Nicole Best, and this is Caribbean Newsline. Join us weekdays, Monday to Friday, live on CaribVision.
Be prepared. Get cash in case ATMs stop working after the hurricane.
still the same. A girlfriend, get a life. Oh, girlfriend, get a life.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. Of course, it is the Carita Dee TV Show, just inspiring all of you girlfriends to get a life and get that life that you're supposed to have. We've got a very, very special guest on with us tonight. He is Pete Canavan, and he is sharing with us some stories, some advice for all of your stories that you're sharing with me, simply to help us in the self-defense area and get past all of these domestic abuse situations. We're going to be talking a lot about domestic abuse from so many girlfriends throughout the coming months. And we want to make sure that we're not just repeating those same cycles. Pete, you just before the break, you were sharing some really pertinent information with me as far as, how we can defend ourselves.
Well, self-defense is something that I think there is a myth surrounding what it takes to become proficient. I've been training for over 20 years, and I've put together workshops for people that only had a very small period of time in which to train and to try to learn some things that could keep them safe. Mm-hmm. And so only just learning just a few things that can help keep you safe if you're attacked is really all you need. And it only takes maybe a few hours or a few days of training, and then you review that periodically. For example, learning the proper way to block somebody, learning the proper way to strike, how to hold your hands properly, not just a fist and a punch, but other ways. You have different ways that you can use your hands.
Let me ask you real quick.
And then, of course, where to hit.
How do you use your hands? Tell me so that I can show them how do you use your hands. Because
everybody knows.
Nails.
Oh, see, that's where women have a little bit of an advantage because those nails can do all kinds of things. If you're scratching and clawing,
yep.
Even if you're under attack and a person runs away,
yeah.
You're going to have DNA evidence under your fingernails.
Ooh, nice. Love that.
And, of course, you're using those nails to poke the eyes, poke the ears, poke the throat. No matter how big and strong you are, there's a place right above your breastbone that if you push hard, it hurts.
Is that like under your apple thing there, right there in the middle?
Right above the breastbone. Come up. And then you'll feel it right in there.
And you feel it right there. Oh, yeah, that's right. It stops all the breathing, and so it hurts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the part I puncture with my nail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you hit that. And of course, an open hand like this, you don't have to necessarily punch.
Yeah.
But you could hit somebody right above the Adam's apple and drive it down, and they'll go right to the ground.
Wow, that's simple. Because when we came up,
it's, you have to do it with a certain amount of force and, again, commitment. But just simply knowing a few of these tips can save your life potentially.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I always thought, though, along the way that the key was to get a man's private parts.
And that's always a good first shot.
Right.
But something interesting happens when you kick a man in the groin.
Yeah.
They bend down, but the head comes up. It's an automatic reaction. As soon as you kick somebody, they go, oh!
Yes.
And guess what? Now your throat is open. Now you've got another target that you can hit.
Oh, nice. I never thought about that. That is brilliant. So you kick him in the groin, and his head comes up, and you double wham. I'm getting way too much fun out of this.
Start thinking about those people you like to do that to, right?
Yes. I can think of at least one or two right now.
Sure. But again,
seriously.
These are things little tips that just, if you know what they are,
yes.
And you kind of put them in the back of your mind and know that if something were to occur, there's some things that you can do that can absolutely, shock and injure someone who may not realize what they're getting into. But when you turn into that tigress and you just go absolutely ballistic on them, scratching and clawing and punching and kicking, most people who are looking for a victim are looking for a passive, easy victim, not someone who's going to fight back. So if you demonstrate to them you are not going to make this easy for you, you're not making it easy for them,
yes.
They're going to go and try to find another victim, or they're going to leave you alone, hopefully.
Wow. So now you've gotten yourself to the point where, like I said, you get people who are total strangers who are trying to victimize you. What about the people who are close to you that you are living with every day?
Well, there are there's basically four types of stalkers. There is the one who's the public figure. They don't have any prior relationship with you. They just get a kick out of stalking you.
Right.
And they like the fact that they're making you feel uncomfortable because it gives them a feeling of power.
That's correct.
Then there's the private stranger who, they may have crossed your path a few times. Maybe they see you in the coffee shop or, every week or something like that. And now you become a target to them because now something sticks out about you to them. Then there's obviously the acquaintance, the person that you know, as in your case that you described earlier.
Yeah.
Right. It could be a coworker. It could be a former girlfriend or boyfriend. It could be, because again, it could be the other way too.
Yeah.
It could be a classmate. It could be different people that you know, and for some reason, maybe you said something one day that really set them off. Mm-hmm. And now you've become someone who is a target to them. Mm-hmm. The fourth is the most dangerous. That is what's called an intimate stalker. They are someone who is not afraid to perpetrate violence.
Wow.
And unfortunately, this type of stalker is about 75% of the stalkers out there.
Wow. 75.
So that violence can escalate from something such as simple as, pushing and shoving and slapping and that sort of thing to obviously a more violent assault that could, like in domestic violence situations, or, they're using weapons against you like a knife or a gun, or maybe just their bare hands.
Totally get it. Totally get it. And so now you're in a household. You've got children. You've got all of these weird dynamics that you encounter, just in daily living. I'm hesitant to ask how to handle that simply from the standpoint because your children are seeing this, and you want your children to see that you're protecting yourself and protecting them. But at the same time, this is somebody that loves them. So we're going to come back in just a moment, and we're going to ask you how to deal with that in that intimate situation. I'm Carita Dee. This is the Carita Dee TV Show. Coming right back.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
We are on Facebook. Join the growing CaribVision community today. Go to www.facebook.com/CaribVision. Be a part of our online family, whether you are located in Canada, the USA, or even farther away. CaribVision is about what it means to be from the Caribbean, our culture, our lifestyles, our voices. Log on or switch us on. CaribVision.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. A hurricane watch means there is a possibility of a hurricane within 36 hours.
Lamestream media outlets were falling all over themselves last week as the looming government shutdown was being reported on. Armageddon-style countdown clocks appeared at the bottom of our TV screens on a 24/7 basis. CNN and MSNBC devoted hours-long programs to the event, and they tried to spin the blame in the direction of the administration. Nancy Pelosi, who once referred to government shutdowns as legislative arson, voted twice this last week to do just that.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee, right here on the Carita Dee TV Show. And it's going to be great because as we continue to get some pertinent information to help to take us to the next level. So many of us say, oh, well, God's going to protect us. Well, he helps those who help themselves as well. So we've got faith without works is dead. We got to do some things so that we can get to the next level. And we've got Pete Canavan here with us. He's a security expert. He's a defense guy in the industry, and want to make sure that we are getting all the information that we need to get on board. Now, Pete, you're right here with me. And just before the break, we were talking about being in an intimate situation where women have abusive husbands, abusive boyfriends, you know, whatever the situation, and you've got children around you, how do you balance that?
Well, that's definitely a tough situation to be in, because you don't want these children to be exposed to what's happening to you, but yet they are.
Yes.
And so when you can privately to the children, tell them, look, something is going on with Daddy, for example, and I don't know why he feels like he needs to be doing this to me, but I'm going to do some things that are going to change the situation. It's not Mommy's fault. It's not your fault. And I think that's probably one of the most important things to get across to the children, because children don't understand these things. They may think it's their fault.
Yes.
And so I think making it a very important point to the children to let them know that it has nothing to do with them or anything that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want to try to avoid communicating with these people. If you're living with them, that's not going to exactly be easy to do.
Right.
But you have to take all threats seriously, and you should start documenting everything.
Oh, my God, can you say that again? Because my girlfriend, who died at the hands of her husband, from my understanding, the threats had been there before. As a matter of fact, the threat had been there that very morning. So, and you're right, we have to take all threats seriously.
And you also, and that's a good point, you have to let other people know. You've got to let them know, look, something is going on here. This person is bothering me. I don't know why. I can't get him to stop, but I want to let you know so that if something happens, you know it's because this person has most likely done something to me.
No doubt about it. When, as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself also that sometimes as women, I'm just talking as a woman because this is kind of a show geared towards women. I find that we tend to want to keep things secret, because especially in our culture here, I don't know how it is in most parts of the world, but I do know here in the Caribbean, we have a tendency that we want to keep things locked down as secrets. And by the time it gets to the point where it invariably gets out, you're almost dead by that time. So, it's not like we will go and say, oh, my God, he yelled at me last night. Awful. I had a situation, I've known situations where people yell in people's faces. And I always tell them, make sure you tell somebody these behaviors, because at any point, anybody can flip. And lo and behold, somebody's dead.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I talk about initially to people is you need to know how to establish personal boundaries.
Good.
Most people never think about this.
Yes.
Somebody gets too close to you, you need to know what is too close.
That's right.
You need to know what is too much.
Yes.
Okay? If you tell yourself, look, if they're going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to stand for that.
That's right.
And that's too much. And then you need to act, whether it's, moving out, going to law enforcement, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. With technology, we talked about that a little bit, but if the other person has access to your technology, for example, your email accounts or your Facebook and stuff like that, you need to change that. Maybe get a new email address and send it to your friends and say, look, this is my new email address. Do not give it to anybody else.
Right.
Because I'm afraid that if the wrong people get it, I'm going to be in the same situation. I'm trying to, I'm being harassed by my ex-husband. I'm being stalked by my ex-husband. He has access to the other account. Don't send anything to the other account about us going out to coffee next week or anything like that.
That's right.
Because if they're seeing it, they're going to know, hey, you're going to be at, whatever, Starbucks next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. They may be there too, waiting for you.
That's right. That's right. And I'm so glad you said that, Pete, because a lot of us, we just give out too much information, just too much information. And so if we can learn, just like you said, to shut down on the information, especially with situations like this, because I'm noticing that, especially in hard economic times, that people are becoming angrier and angrier. You know, you see it in the road rage. You see it in, you know, all of these domestic situations. You're seeing people shouting and yelling and, you know, and just tripping and, you know, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And, you know, and you're thinking to yourself, what's going on here? Am I the only person seeing this?
No, not at all. People have lost coping skills.
Yes.
They've lost patience. They've lost tolerance. We see it in the news every day. Why does somebody have to protest about every little thing?
Yes.
If you don't like something, okay, don't go near it, don't do it, don't be associated with it.
I agree.
You know, you don't have to change everybody else's behavior because something bothers you.
Right.
And it's gotten to the point where it's absolute craziness. I mean, I don't know if you saw a recent article here in the States about somebody going to a college and they had a problem with the mascot at the college.
Whoa.
Well, you knew what the mascot of the college was when you were going to the college.
Exactly.
And, you know, and they were offended by it. It was a cowboy.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, you know, this is wrong, and, you know, it's not representative of me and who I am. And I'm sorry. We all, when those of us that went to a school, whether it was a high school or college, you had a mascot.
Yeah.
My high school was the Huskies.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
I didn't take offense at that. I'm a Husky.
No. Yeah.
Okay? I went to a college. You know, we were the Monarchs.
Right. You're right.
We're all Monarchs.
We just
you identify with that.
Yes, yes, yes. We are seeing more people protest because everything now has to be politically correct, and everybody's offended, and everybody's walking around offended all the time, and I'm seeing that all the time. But getting back to just real quick about this spirit of offense that you find in so many people. At what point would you tell a woman, if you were talking to her right now, when she sees this anger or she sees something wrong, what should she say at that particular point? Real quick.
To the person?
Yes.
Tell them that you're not comfortable with what they're doing, that they are making you fearful, and that you want the behavior to stop because you love this person. You don't want to have something happen. You don't want to have to go to law enforcement. You don't want to have to, you want this person to stop their behavior, and you need to be forceful.
All right.
And let them know that you're not going to tolerate it.
Okay, great. We're going to come back in just a moment.
We're gonna add some black pepper there. Season your fish with however you like to season your fish. So this pot has been boiling here for about 20-25 minutes. So we're gonna check on it and see what's happening now.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. So glad to have you back in the house. We're talking about stalkers tonight, how to deal with the stalkers, how to deal with domestic abuse situations. So many of you are writing me and sharing with me and calling me and texting me and telling me that you've got these domestic situations that are really out of hand. And I can attest to that. I've been in domestic abuse situations myself. I totally get it. It's going to require a tremendous amount of prayer. Secondly, it's going to require some strength of character, and it's going to require some action. And the action part is what we're dealing with tonight, because we want to make sure that we're getting some good help on how to get to the next level. So we've got Pete Canavan on with me tonight. Hey, Pete, glad to have you here with me.
Hello again.
Yep. So, Pete, we were talking earlier because some of the women are really concerned that they don't know how to handle situations. And a lot of that has to do with character building, I'm sure, because they've gotten to the point where somebody knows that, or somebody feels that they can intimidate you. And obviously they have checked out your weaknesses, and now they go straight for the gusto.
Well, as we talked about, you need to talk to other people about the situation, what's going on. Share it. Tell people that you trust. If it's happening at work, tell your boss. If it's your boss, you may have to look for another job.
No doubt about it.
If you're at a school, which I do a lot with university safety. I was a former university public safety officer. Mm-hmm. Go to your public safety department. Go to the university office and say, hey, somebody's stalking me, somebody's bothering me, somebody's harassing me. Mm-hmm. You could even show people the person's picture and say, if you see this person and they're asking about me, don't tell them where I am.
Right.
Do privacy settings on your social media accounts. Everybody has social media. Make sure those privacy settings are set correctly.
Yes.
And block the person who is, bothering you or stalking you. And lastly, you have to develop a plan.
Yeah. Wow. Good. That's good.
So if that means that, well, for example, let's say it's something that's happening at home. It's a domestic situation. And you're fearful that tonight might be the night that this person snaps and does something to you. Mm-hmm. You should have a bag packed, ready to go.
Yes.
Have that plan. Have necessary papers, your identification, and any short-term supplies, and let your friends and family know that, look, I'm bolting. I'm getting out of here because I'm fearful for my life, and I cannot afford to stay here another minute. And I will be in touch with you using that, as we said, that other email address that I supplied you with, and let you know what's going on. And if you have children, you're going to have to plan for them as well.
Yeah. I was thinking, as you were talking, I was just thinking about our friend that died at the hands of her husband again. And I'm wondering to myself, what could have been done differently? And you brought up an interesting point, because she was surrounded by friends that she dealt with every day, that she went out to dinner, that she went on trips and things like that. But to my understanding, she kept a lot of this to herself. And so, just like you said, no one knows. Because if somebody knows, that something is going on, then it brings some sort of accountability to the abuser, to the offender. So if they come into your personal space, other people around you start to check, kind of zero in, and start looking at you like, okay, if you're going to try something, I'm on guard, I'm ready. But if you don't know, there's nobody there to help you.
And that's why a support system is so important. You may want to do things like vary up your routine.
Yes.
If you go to work the same way all the time, or you go to school the same way all the time, don't. Mix it up. Switch around the days. If you work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, switch it to Tuesday, Thursday. So little things like that can really, make a difference, and it can throw that person off that might be intent on doing you harm.
Yes. Well, let's just say now they have gotten to the point where they have done you harm, because you get, like I said, the Caribbean has very, very high numbers of domestic abuse, domestic incidents. It's almost like, I swear, I've seen people who came into the Caribbean and then all of a sudden they become like these different people. I swear, it's just unbelievable. I've seen it myself personally, so I know what I'm talking about, where you don't expect somebody to act a certain way, but then they come into the culture and they assimilate, and all of a sudden they start doing the same thing. So I want to ask you, if an incident has happened already, how do you now correct that?
Hopefully you have things documented that you can now bring that to the authorities. Then hopefully they will be able to issue some sort of protective order. I know, we have the protection from abuse order in the United States.
Right.
I'm not quite sure, but there's
we
probably
do have
something
it here.
comparable there.
Yes,
okay.
we do, yes.
So
throughout the region.
That's a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
If it has happened to you, you know that you've got to do something to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I would like to tell your audience that I have a free report that they can download. It's called Self-Defense Items for Everyday Carry.
Self-defense items for everyday carry. Okay.
Correct. And it's got about a dozen different items in there that all link to Amazon, so you could go get the product. Things like we talked about, pepper spray and defensive flashlights, but there's a lot of other things out there that people don't know. Like they have baseball hats that have a weight on the back.
Yep.
So it looks like you're wearing a baseball hat. Somebody comes up to you, whack.
That is cool. I love stuff like that. I'm a gadget guru where that is a concern. Not the others, not the computer stuff, but I like those kind of things. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd be happy to give that address out if anybody wants to get that report.
Oh, please do. I will be coming to you for it. Because I think it's important to have, like you said, you know, these little things, whether we can make them from at home or bring them from home, or just, you know, going to a store and buy them if we have accessibility to doing so. But I think most of us down here probably won't have the accessibility to go into a store and buy those gadgets, but we can certainly take the gadgets that we already have and use them.
Or just even to have a small little rigid stick or bar with you that you can keep in your purse. Again, it's light, but it's going to, you know, magnify your striking ability.
Wow.
So you could use that to quick hit a couple of times, 1, 2, 3 times maybe on somebody, instead of trying to punch.
Right.
There's some other, like a Kubaton is what this device is called, but it's no more than just a bar of metal.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. We want to hear some more from a different area when we come back from the break. We want to hear about online stalking. A lot of people now are online every single minute of the day. We were talking in the break about your children. And so we want to definitely find out what's happening with the online stuff, because now we're seeing more and more people. You'd be surprised. I was amazed, to be honest with you, when I started beefing up my online and my Facebook and things like that, getting ready for the show. And I got a barrage of men coming on board. And so I want to definitely talk about that when we come back. It's been real, but it's been good. We're going to come back in just a moment. I'm Carita Dee.
The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Over here I have some finely chopped seasonings that I'm going to add to the batter. I have some really finely chopped onions here, so I'm just going to flake it. I like big chunks of the saltfish in the fritters or the akra, so just stir all those seasonings into the flour. Now you can add some of that green seasoning. So the akra batter has been sitting for about 45 minutes, and if you notice, it's risen a little bit, and that's because of the yeast.
Sister, best friend or wife, the message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
welcome back to the Carita Dee TV Show. I am Carita Dee, and we've been having a great time tonight because I want to get as much information as possible from Pete Canavan, who is our amazing security expert. He's also an IT security consultant, martial arts and self-defense instructor. He's a campus safety authority, and he is an event security professional. Pete, we're getting on to that online stuff, and I wanted to ask you real quick, what are some of these online safety threats that we can deal with?
Well, interestingly enough, a lot of these threats that we're seeing offline start online. We know, it used to just be stalking.
Yes.
Now we have cyber stalking.
Yep.
So that cyber stalker that could be following you online and seeing what you're doing on Facebook and following you on Twitter and everything else,
yes,
that can now move offline.
Ow.
So, and we used to have bullying.
Yes.
Now there's cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying, yes, yes.
Okay, and whereas before, when you were bullied, maybe it just stayed on your block or in your school.
Yes.
But cyberbullying now is all over the world in a heartbeat. And so these things also don't go away easily.
No.
And so we have to be really vigilant about what we're sharing with people online. We have to make sure that all of our security settings in all the social media accounts are set properly. And it only takes 5 or 10 minutes to go through them.
Yep.
But make sure that the people that you want to see what you're posting can see it, and the people that you don't want to see, strangers, cannot.
Wow. I had this problem myself. Just a few weeks ago, like I said, my Facebook started to intensify because I was on air and, things like that. And then I started getting these creepy people calling me in the middle of the night. Now, I'm just not an online dating person or anything. I am married, and so I'm not into that. I know some married people that are into that. I'm not. And so I take my vows, seriously. And so here it was, in the middle of the night, somebody's calling me on the messenger phone. And I'm thinking, okay, this is weird. And I already know that if you answer it one time, they won't stop calling.
The solution to that is that when it happens once, you block that person, you block that number.
That's right.
Really all you can do.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
But you have to stay on top of it.
Yes.
And again, it comes back to being careful about what you post. Be careful about who you associate with. Be careful about who you decide to approve the friend request. So if you're getting a friend request from somebody and you don't know who they are, why would you accept it?
But you know what, Pete? A lot of people have used Facebook to build their self-esteem, to boost their self-esteem, not build it.
True.
A lot of people have low self-esteem, and they figure, oh, I've got 5,000 friends. Like,
yeah, but you know
right.
3.
Yeah. I mean, you may know some of these people, but you keep adding on these people because you're thinking. And then all of a sudden, if you're not careful, if your self-esteem is low, and you don't want to admit that your self-esteem is low, all of a sudden you start craving the attention of all these people. Like they're your best friend or something.
And, that is a problem. And it comes back to low self-esteem, lack of confidence.
Yes.
And so people look for other outlets. And social media allows these sort of people to feel better about themselves, much in the same way that people who enjoy playing video games a lot have an alternate persona. So you may be, a skinny child who doesn't have a lot of friends and is not someone that has a lot of confidence. But when you're online and you're, say, for example, part of a team in one of these games online, you could be this big, strong, muscular guy that knows how to do all of these cool moves, and you know how to solve the problems in the game.
Yes.
And that boosts your self-esteem. Now, to a certain extent, that's good. But it's not a replacement.
Yes.
It should be something that you use to help build your offline self-esteem and confidence.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's been so great having you on board with me, Pete. I mean, seriously, I want to just say thank you from all the girlfriends out here around the world who are watching in all the countries in the Caribbean and watching in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, London, wherever we are all around the world. We just want to say thank you tonight. This is not something that we are taught by our parents. I never had any kind of talks like this. from any of my parents. And so I just want to reach out to you once again and say thank you. Where can we go online to check out your information real quick?
I have a self-defense website that's anybody can sign up for free, but the address is learnselfdefenseonline.com and then /S, D as in Delta, S, G as in George, -2.
Okay, all right.
And that will give you a free report for the self-defense items for everyday carry.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Great having you here, man. I seriously, it's been phenomenal. And once again, we just always want you to come on back, shout us, come on down to the Caribbean whenever you have a chance.
Oh, I'd love to. I told my wife what I was doing. She's like, oh, can we go?
Well, we're going to come back in just a moment, and we're going to close up.
If we help
Glad to
just
have
one
you on
person,
board.
it's worth it, right?
That's right.
Take care. Thank you.
The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Festival again. 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 The Caribbean's greatest summer line. Yeah, it's scorching all the time. 44 is the hair. I know you love it here. Troops and festivities. We love the Caribbean. The all night, no time for sleep. It's massive break with we. Best food and folklore. Culture on the 14th floor. Best food and folklore. Welcome to our island shore. Best food and folklore. Entertainment to die for. Best food and folklore. Culture on the 14th floor.
Sister, best friend, no I. The message is still the same. A girlfriend get alive. Oh, girlfriend get alive.
Well, you're back with me, Carita Dee. This is the Carita Dee TV Show, and just encouraging all of you to be much more careful, more alert as far as your safety is concerned. It's amazing that you can actually know someone or think you know someone, or maybe it's a total stranger, but it doesn't matter whether you think you know someone or you don't know anyone. Basically, our friend Pete Canavan shared with us that there are some things that we need to do to secure our person, our overall safety on a day-to-day basis. I know that throughout my life in various relationships that I've had, both male and female, anyone can change at any given moment. And so I want to encourage you to be very, very careful about who you expose yourself to. This is our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. And we want to make sure that we are carrying the Holy Spirit in very safe places. We don't want to expose him to things that are not right. So we're going to end tonight by just saying, Heavenly Father, we just thank you that the women are safe tonight, that you keep your hand on them, and that you safeguard the women who are listening tonight so that they may be always, always in your care. I'm so glad that you have shared your stories with me. Continue to share your stories on Facebook. I'm so glad, once again, to be having you a part of my life. I'm Carita Dee, telling you, girlfriends, get a life.
Sister.